Our meeting is called to order. Please call the roll.
Here.
Reverend Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Here.
Mr. Raleigh.
Here.
Mayor Saunders.
Here.
Mr. Shanks.
Here.
Mr. Vogler.
Here.
Please stand for the invocation. Remain standing for the pledge tonight, given by Council Member J. Lee Vogler.
Let's bow our heads. Lord, we come to you tonight knowing that you are a loving God who loves each and every one of us, whose love cares not about what color we are, how much money we have, who we know, where we come from. You love each and every one of us. There is not a person here tonight who has ever met someone that you do not love, and they never will. For your love is timeless and universal. And we also know the universal truth that our rights do not come from any government, but they come from you, our Creator. And so tonight, as we work to do our best for our city and for our people, we ask for patience, wisdom, and guidance, that you help us do the best of our abilities to move our city forward. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Vogler. Under communications, citizens who desire to speak on matters not on the agenda will be heard at this time. Those who desire to speak on agenda items will be heard when the item is considered. Visitors shall be for purposes of allowing members of the public to address council. They shall not serve as a forum for debate with council, and that's communication from visitors. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and address. Each individual speaker shall have 5 uninterrupted minutes. Representative of a group may have up to 10 uninterrupted minutes to make a presentation. Representatives shall identify the group, and a group may have no more than one spokesperson. Time will be kept using electronic time on the podium. The green light will be lit when the speaker begins. The yellow light indicates the speaker has 1 minute left, and the red light indicates the speaker's time has ended. Anyone wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak? Thank you. Is there a motion to approve our minutes of January 19th? Mr. Campbell, second by Mr. Raleigh. Discussion on the motion. Please call the roll.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh.
Aye.
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Vogler.
Aye.
New business. Consideration of approving a resolution for the city to enter into a purchase power agreement for 6 megawatts of renewable solar peaking generation power to be constructed within the Danville Utilities Service Territory. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Raleigh.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing and approving the city to enter into a purchase power agreement for 6 megawatts of renewable solar peaking generation power to be constructed within the Danville Utilities Service Territory.
Second, Mr. Buckner. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Shanks.
Yes, Mayor. I just wanted, for the benefit of the public, to just indicate that this is not a purchase of an asset by Danville Utilities. This is actually a purchase of power, an agreement that will pay dividends in locating a facility that is creator of power within our service area, which will help us deal with congestion charges and also transmission charges, which have been such a big issue over the past few years. And I applaud Danville Utilities and the Utility Commission for the work they've done to proceed with this. This is, once again, it's not a purchase of solar plant, it's a purchase of the product of a solar plant at a price that will pay dividends for 20 or 30 years down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Reverend Campbell.
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh.
Aye.
Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Vogler.
Aye.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Consideration of approving a resolution for rules of procedure for the Council of the City of Danville, Virginia. Council, your pleasure. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution amending the rules of procedure for the council of the city of Danville, Virginia.
Okay, there's a second. Mr. Campbell, discussion on the motion. Mr. Gilstrap?
Mayor, I'm not in opposition to this motion, but I would like to point out that I'm not sure that this is going to resolve our problems of crime in this city. I think we need to take a total approach. As Mr. Councilman Vogler has mentioned several times, we need to look and study what has been successful in other areas and see if we can't somehow address the total problems, which would be economy, social, the whole spectrum, and see if we can't make an impact.
Thank you, Mr. Gilstrap. Just to make sure that I'm clear, I think the one that Mr. Jones, his motion was with regards to
Sorry,
public hearing.
Mr. Jones just pointed that out to me that I'm ahead of you. So will you record those comments to the next motion?
We do have free speech in these chambers.
Like what he said.
Is there a second? Discussion, Mr. Vice Mayor.
No, I agree, it's not going to solve our we'll remember what you said. No, this brings this into line for our rules of procedure, brings it in line with our public opening comment section, just get them similar to each other. So I think this is something we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shanks.
Yeah, yes, Mayor. I'm really opposed to the strict limits that are included in this. I think that with regard to zoning issues, there needs to be more flexibility in the time that's allowed for the applicant and for the rebuttal. So I'm not going to be voting in favor of this. The other thing that I really felt we discussed and didn't agree on was I felt that any council member could quickly make a motion to allow for more time and it could quickly be voted on as opposed to the decision strictly coming from the chair. And I realize you can call Robert's rules into account and try to resolve that, but I would rather it be allowed for any member of council to move to allow 3-5 more minutes for the applicant or the opposition to make make whatever they're trying to relay across the council, have that time to do so. So I just wanted to say and I realize this is taken from a nearby locality, but I've done zoning cases all over the Commonwealth, and I haven't seen anything that restricts the applicant to the extent that's been restricted here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor, with your hand up.
Yeah, I don't think that he said strict limits. This is discretion of the chair, and the chair can always give extra time, at least let the person finish their presentation. It's the repetitive, me too, me too, me too, and we hear these things again and again. In some of these discussions, it should be done in 30 minutes, take an hour and a half, and there's got to be some limit at the prerogative of the chair to limit. So I'm voting for it.
Thank you. Mr. Raleigh.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I agree with everything that Mr. Shanks said, but I am willing to give whoever's sitting in the chair a chance to see if this will work for us. But I do disagree and point out everything that Mr. Shanks said, that we just make sure we give people enough time to finish what they want to say. Thank you, sir.
Further discussion? Mr. Campbell.
Yes, I will be voting for this. I understand what Councilman Fred Shanks is talking about. Like you said, the mayor will have that option, or even council can make a request to the mayor for an extension of time, especially when you're dealing with certain codes and variances that may need more time. But the problem that we've been having is that sometimes we have individuals to come and speak and they just go on and on and on, and you have a redundancy there. So we have to put some type of control into place. I will be voting for this.
Thank you. Further discussion? And before I call the roll, let me just say I appreciate all the comments, those who may be for and those who may be in opposition. I believe that this council runs a very efficient meeting. I also believe that this council is very receptive and sensitive to public comments. We want to hear from the public, and we do in fact hear from the public. This measure has to do with the public hearings. People are allowed to speak at our public hearings. The public knows way in advance, at least a week at a minimum, when there will be a public hearing and what that hearing will be about. The public can prepare written remarks to submit to our clerk, which goes into the records on their position on that issue, and which means in addition to, can come before this council and have their verbal and or oral comments. Again, I think that this measure adds to the efficiency that this council is trying to maintain, not hurting anyone's right, maintaining that right, and again, in addition to oral comments, you can put them in writing for a record. So thank you for your views, and those are mine. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Rowley?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
No.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Consideration of adopting an ordinance to increase authorized police personnel from 131 to 135. Mr. Buckner.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt an ordinance amending the number of sworn...
Mr. Buckner.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Buckner.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve an ordinance amending the number of sworn officers and authorizing police officer positions from 131 to 135.
Second, Mr. Vogler. Discussion on the motion. Mr. Gilstrap.
I'm not going to oppose this motion. However, I do not think it's directly resolving our problems of crime in this city. As I said earlier, Mr. Vogler has brought to our attention many times that we need to study this total picture from social conditions to our economy, and also look at what other localities have done and maybe adopt some of those practices. And yes, I repeated what I said. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Vogler.
John felt so strongly about this issue that he couldn't wait, and I guess neither could I. I'm sorry, James. I too wanted to echo some of the points that John made, although I do feel this is a step in the right direction, and I think many of us have pointed out numerous times that there is no greater responsibility that we have as a local government than to have a strong public safety system. And so this is an effort tonight to continue to give our police department what they need to do their job well. And they do their job well, and what we can do to help them. And so this will not solve all the problems that we have, but I do believe it is a step in the right direction, and so I strongly support this. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yes, I agree with the previous two speakers. Police Chief Rodfoot asked for this, but as just one of the pieces of the puzzle, and he presented to us at the last work session other things he wants to implement. And this will, again, is just one piece of the puzzle. It won't solve the problems. A lot of the problems that need to be solved rest here with this council. The economic issues we're going to have to work to solve, and the underlying cause of crime is largely economical and educational too. So that's where you get at the heart of the problem, not just adding more police officers. But we will have additional police officers we can authorize, and he's pled, they're retraining police officers as well, not only here but across the country, to how to handle these tense situations. And the police are looking at themselves and saying, maybe our previous training wasn't the way these situations should be handled, or maybe we need to modify it. So there's a lot goes into this, and this is just one piece of the puzzle, but an important piece. So I'm voting for it.
Thank you. Further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Rowley?
Aye.
Mayor Saunders?
Aye.
Mr. Shanks?
Aye.
Mr. Vogler?
Aye.
Mr. Buckner?
Aye.
Reverend Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Aye.
Communication. Mr. Manager.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Nothing, sir.
Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Buckner?
Yes, first of all, I'd like to share something I read on Facebook recently. The Farmville, North Carolina Police Department has authorized a internet purchase exchange location which has 24-hour surveillance. It's a parking spot in front or near the police station that has 24-hour surveillance for people that are doing online purchases. You know, if you buy a car or a computer or a laptop, anything from somebody off the internet, and you have to meet them face to face, you meet in a location where there's 24-hour surveillance. That way the seller and the buyer both feel, you know, secure and they feel safe in doing so. I'd like for the city manager and Chief Broadfoot to see if we could come up with a location that we could do this in. I think it'd be a good thing for our city and something definitely would make everybody in that's buying online or from newspapers or whatever. Sometimes you just don't want to give your home address. So, you know, it's a safe location for people to do business. Also, we've got something coming up here in the near future about this dam at the school, at the White Mill Dam. I think Councilman Vogler shared something on Facebook today about a three-step dam. I mean, there's alternatives to tearing it down, and there's alternatives to just leaving it the way it is. I feel like we should review all of those and come up with the best plan. That's all tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, just for the record, I did not curse.
Well, I waited. Damn, at the water. Thank you, sir.
Reverend Campbell?
Thank you. Yes, we would like to thank all the city employees for the efficiency, for the snow and ice that we had this week, and they did such an outstanding job. For the last 2 weeks, the Danville Moore Hospital has been spearheading a peace walk. We had a very good turnout. We want to salute the director of the hospital, Mr. Alan Watson, for a job well done. Also, I'd like to speak to Reverend Dr. Avon King for the SCLC March to Stop the Killing and Violence within our community. We all realize that we have a serious problem in our community, and for myself, I'm sure all the other councilmen feel the same way, that we love our community. We're very concerned about it. We have excellent police department, a good chief, and what is happening to me is not Danville at all. This is not, it's happening in Danville, but it's not Danville. And we're looking at many alternatives of what to do. It's really disturbing to me, very, very disturbing. And I just hope that we can move forward for Danville to be number 2 in the state for crime. And the possibility may increase, maybe number 1, because even after having peace walks, we still have shootings. And it's sad. It's sad. It's sickening. It's really sickening. And I have nothing else to say, man. We just have to deal with this issue. This is not the city of Danville that I know and the city that we love. This is not Danville. And I'm just upset, and I'm not going to cuss, but I feel like it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Gilstrap?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have anything. I've already put my foot in my mouth once, and that's enough.
Okay.
Mr. Jones?
Just want to thank the city workers for all that they are doing. The power outage, the utilities department is still working and getting power back on and they've done a superb job, Mr. Mayor. All of the street cleaning. I also want to thank the school system. I toured George Washington High School, and I'm happy to report things are going very well. I toured Woodbury, things are going well at Woodbury. So I just want to thank the Danville Public Schools. Thank all of those in our community who are gathering water for Flint, Michigan. So all those persons involved in that, thank you all so much for caring about those in Flint, Michigan. And lastly, as Councilman Campbell stated, Mr. Lawson and the members of Danville Regional Medical Center, thank you all so much for getting involved in our community. Both walks, I attended both walks, and I just hope they continue along with everything everyone else is doing. And lastly, I'd just like to let everybody know, don't worry, be happy. Everything's going to be okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Miller?
Thanking Mr. Larson and Avon King for the walks. We need to increase the dialogue. This isn't a race problem. This is a people problem, and it's going to take all the people to solve the problem. And talking and dialogue with each other is a good start. And each person looking out for their neighbor. The police can't be everywhere all the time. It's just that we could have 500 policemen in this city and it wouldn't be enough. It depends on the citizens. The citizens need to come forth, watch out for your neighbor, and they'll watch out for you. The Public Works did an outstanding job again, and they're just ready this year. I mean, they're just primed. Anytime we have a storm, they're ready to go, and they've got the streets clean, the sand put down, the brine. They're just doing a remarkable job. And when I lived in Chesterfield County a few years ago in Richmond was the murder capital of the country for several years in a row. Per capita more than Washington, D.C., and it wasn't unusual to have 4 or 5 people killed per weekend. But it was, I guess, reassuring to me. I lived in a duplex just outside Richmond, and the policeman was allowed to bring his car home at night, and he parked right beside our duplex. So I don't know if that's something feasible here. I know you got to have police cars are shared, but I don't know if we can look at that, or at least, the more police cars that are out there in the community, the people don't tend to commit crimes when there's a police car nearby and a policeman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Raleigh?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for for Ken. Can you help me? Every time I go by the museum, it looks like part of that fence has been kicked in. Is that the problem? Is it vandalism?
Part of it might be vandalism, but the fence, when it was originally installed, they used a kind of wood that wasn't really good for outdoor application, and it was installed by not city crews. It wasn't picked by city crews, but it was picked by a different organization that I think got a grant. I can't remember the specifics, but I do know that Public Works has had to replace several of the slats of wood over the several years that it's been in place, and it's kind of like a just a constant maintenance item for us.
Right, but that fence has probably been replaced 10 times since it was put up. But I went by on the way down here tonight, and it looks like to me it's been kicked in. Some slats are broken at the bottom, and that can't be wear and tear. My question is, it really infuriates me. And I'm willing to vote to put cameras up if that's what it takes. But it's got to be vandalism, but I need to know that to be a fact. It just looks like to me it is.
When we replace the rotten wood, we replace it with a different material that isn't easily damaged.
Right.
And it's painted to look the
But
same.
even rotten wood doesn't break like that unless somebody's really...
It sounds like it was helped along.
I would agree, yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll take a look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shanks?
Yes, Mr. Buckner mentioned the dam at the White Mill, and as a follow-up to his comments, I just wanted to say in the work session when we first discussed it, I had made note to Public Works that I was not at that point in favor of taking down that dam. And last week, just this past week, an idea was floated on the Facebook by Steve Adkins about putting in an alternate type structure that used the dam that was there along with some other structural material behind it that would help eliminate the hydraulic suction that is so common to low-head dams. And I thought it was a great idea, and actually Steve Adkins was the one who presented that idea, and Steve says that it actually came from Nick Argyrakis, and Nick Argyrakis is a local person that is very active in whitewatering and hiking and things like that. So I appreciate that idea being presented by those gentlemen, and I hope that as Public Works goes through their process, that that option is included. I'm still opposed to taking the dam down. I think it adds beauty to the river. There's never been a drowning there, and I just believe there are other options that would be better options than taking it down. Second, as mentioned by several people earlier, Public Works has done another tremendous job, and I just want to say thank you to Public Works, Public Safety, and all the city employees that kept traffic moving and kept City Hall open. I mean, it was the whole group dealt with this storm tremendously, and the last one as well, and they deserve our kudos. With regard to one of the gentlemen across the way mentioned, or maybe it was Dr. Miller, mentioned the walks that the Danville Regional Medical Center has had the last couple Friday nights. They have been very much a healing catalyst for our community. I know in attending, I feel much better just being part of that, and I would encourage the citizens, it's going to continue. I would encourage more folks to participate because it is an opportunity for ideas to be exchanged. And I also would like to say thank you to Mr. Larson, and mention the website that they have a blog on that people can share ideas about where the walks could be or what companies might want to sponsor them or other ideas about crime prevention, and that is drmccares.com, drmccares.com, and it's a blog on there. You can find it fairly easily, and the hospital is responding to everybody's comments as they come in. Finally, Mr. Raleigh mentioned the museum. Ken, could you find out who is responsible for keeping the historical registry that's in front of the museum in the proper condition? It's very, I don't know if it's rusted or it just needs painted, but if it's our Danville's responsibility, we need to step up. But I got a feeling it's some state agency maybe. But could you just find out?
Sure.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Vogler?
Yeah, I too want to quickly just thank Public Works for the fantastic job that they've done again, and Danville Utilities, who's worked to get people's power restored, did a fantastic job during this most recent storm. I wanted to just take a couple minutes tonight and talk about citizen input and how important it is, and give a few examples of it. Firstly, Councilman Buckner mentioning the suggestion tonight for internet sales and to have a safe place to do so. I'm not totally sure, but I'm sure at some point that was shown to you and you came across it as an idea and you brought it down here to us. I think it's a fantastic idea, by the way, and I thank you for bringing it up. The second is the White Mill Dam, and council a few weeks ago was presented either it's going to stay or we're taking it completely down. And as Fred pointed out, Steve Atkins, I think tagged Buddy and myself and Fred in a post on Facebook and said, hey, how about this? This is a third option. Can you all look into this? And we've asked Ken and city staff to do that. And so again, another example of a citizen coming to us with another idea and us taking it and seeing what we can do with it. The third is something that was presented to me today. It was Berkeley Bidgood actually sent me a message, and it was on a thread about the dam, but said, wouldn't it be a great idea to have an easy to find section on the city's website where citizens can go in, and if we've got a vote or an issue that's coming up or we want feedback about it, to have an easy form they can go on, and they put information. If we can set it up as a vote, if we've got a vote, you want to do this, you want to do that. We get feedback from the public. They can put their name in and all that. And I know a lot of us get the feedback and the phone calls and things anyway, and those of us on social media certainly get a lot of feedback, good, bad, ugly, all in between. I appreciate all of it. But to have one uniform thing so that we can get these comments from the citizens and that all 9 of us receive the same information. I think, again, it just gives another avenue for citizens to voice their opinion on certain issues that come up. So I don't know if that's something we could talk about adding to our city website and have, I know we've done a lot of adjustment with the open data and things that I think are good, but to have a portion of the city's website where folks can go and weigh in on some of these issues that we're going to be deciding on, I think would be a great thing. And this is just one night where we've talked about 3 examples of citizens bringing ideas to us and us as council members working together and finding out how to implement them. That's how government's supposed to work. That's how local government's supposed to work. You hear from the citizens. They bring a new idea to you. They bring a suggestion to you. And we bring it to our colleagues. And then we work together and find out how can we make this work in Danville. So that's how you get things done. And so I am pleased that we continue to get feedback from our citizens. I always encourage it. I'm more than happy to bring ideas down here to council that I hear from citizens. I know we all feel that way. So again, I want to thank citizens for that. And lastly, I just want to say GW is hosting a basketball game Thursday night. And young man on that team, they're all great. But we might know one of them on there as a son of one of our colleagues here on council who is a force under the basket. But, anyway, go see GW Thursday night. They're going to win. They're going to do a great job. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Saunders.
I'd like to thank all the city employees for always stepping up to the occasion, especially during inclement weather, but not just then, but all the time. That would be public safety, police, fire, and other emergency personnel, public works, all of our city employees, whether you're driving a truck, operating a shovel, or you're supporting the effort. So thank you for what you do for our city every day, and thank you, City Council, for what you do, council members, for our city as well. So having said that, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move pursuant to Section 223711B of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended, that the City Council of the City of Danville, Virginia reconvene and recess at various times at various undisclosed locations in closed meeting within 15 days hereafter, not including tonight, for the purpose of interviewing candidates for the position of City Manager.
Second, Mr. Shanks. Discussion on the motion. Please call the roll.
Mr. Buckner.
Aye.
Reverend Campbell. Mr. Gilstrap. Mr. Jones.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Aye.
Mr. Rowley. Mayor Saunders.
Aye.
Mr. Shanks.
Aye.
Mr. Vogler.
Meeting adjourned. Meeting recessed, rather. Recessed.